Howdy folks, welcome to Found Flicks. Alright guys, Suicide Squad is out today officially, but reviews have already been tearing this movie apart for days. But is it really that bad? What went wrong after so many promising trailers? I just saw it and want to give my feelings on the movie, but also take a look at some important behind the scenes issues that certainly had an impact on what ended up on screen. So I normally stick with horror on this channel, and Suicide Squad doesn't really fit in with that. But there is a giant crocodile guy. He's a monster, no question about that. Come on, that's kind of horror. Whatever. To be honest, it's because I was so damn excited for this movie. It seemed like it was gonna be, different. The bad guys are in charge this time. So that's definitely different than what we're used to. And from the trailers, and I hate to use the word, it looked fun. It's clear that WB is now obsessed with this notion, especially after the negative reception to the dour Batman vs. Superman. So with Suicide Squad, it appeared that WB had allowed this movie to kind of be its own thing, which was good news. But then reviews started coming out, and it sounded like a lot of the same problems that plagued BVS. Basically, that it's a poorly constructed movie. No one really notices the editing on a movie, but the editing in BVS was so bad it was stupefying. It really made the movie into an incoherent mess. And yes, the 30 minutes added in the Ultimate Cut smoothed out some jumps from poor editing, but just because I now know how Batman got from point A to point B, that still don't make point B any good. Fortunately, Suicide Squad isn't nearly the disappointment reviews might lead you to believe. I did like it overall, but there were still major issues that really dragged it down and made it into nearly a failure. And listen, I don't want to hate on the movie. I was really excited to see it, and there were aspects I enjoyed. But I realize now the movie didn't really stand a chance. New articles detailing the production of Suicide Squad have made it a little clear what caused its problems. And the blame lies squarely on Warner Brothers. They've been struggling to catch up with Marvel for years. Basically, they want Avengers money and think a DC cinematic universe is the easy way to get there. But the problem is they aren't willing to take the time to make solo movies leading up to the big team-up movie, which was a big part of Avengers' success. And now that Man of Steel and BVS struggle to meet WB's expectations, the next movie is put under even more pressure to succeed. WB really needs this shit to work and think they know the best way to make it happen, but they keep proving they have no idea. I read this movie has to make $800 million to be financially successful. It's like, holy crap, guys! This movie does not need to be that expensive. It really doesn't. It's totally unnecessary. Regardless, I can see why they are so concerned with Suicide Squad being a success. They are losing trust of the movie-going audience with each failure, but they keep going about so many things in such a bad way. For example, writer-director David Ayers had 6 weeks to write the script. That's right, not even 2 full months, just because WB had a release date to hit. You'd think if it was really so important for the movie to succeed, they'd take a little more time to make sure they had a strong script, instead of worrying more about breaking a release date. It's completely insane. How could anyone write a coherent movie with so many flipping characters in 6 weeks? The answer is, you can't. And nobody should try, especially with hundreds of millions of dollars on the line. But I guess no one at WB read the script, as we heard later in Suicide Squad's production about reshoots being done to lighten the tone. Apparently Ayers' original cut was too dark and didn't deliver on the promise of fun seen in the trailers. There's that fun thing again. Ugh. So in reaction to this, they shot a bunch of new stuff, cut some stuff out like more scenes with the Joker, and made a competing cut of the movie to show to test audiences alongside Ayers' original. This new cut was done by Trailer Park, the company responsible for editing the trailer. They're thinking people like the trailer, so they have to like their cut of the movie, right? This is the cut we're seeing in theaters, but it's not possible to maintain the feeling of a trailer for 2 hours, and it would be really stupid to try. But that's exactly what they do anyway. This is especially rampant in Act 1, where there is a never-ending jukebox of pop songs accompanying the introduction of the characters and other scenes to make things seem more lively. It's obvious they're trying to recreate the usage of songs from the trailer, but it is so overused in the movie that it becomes tedious quickly. It's like they can't create a real feeling to a scene without the song doing the heavy lifting for them. But I still have to give credit for Ayers making it work as well as it does, considering the odds he was facing. This isn't a Josh Trank / Fantastic Four level of a meltdown or anything. I don't know what Ayers' original cut was like, maybe it is better, but there are some major issues that are inherent to the movie that can't be fixed with editing or a wall-to-wall soundtrack. The biggest problem is that it doesn't feel like they really embrace the whole concept in the first place. These are supposed to be bad guys, but they aren't really that bad. We're told repeatedly they are bad, but there's not much on-screen evidence to back that up. Like Will Smith has a daughter he's trying to be a good dad with, Killer Croc is more of a monster because people treated him that way, and Diablo feels guilty for hurting his family family and doesn't even want to use his powers at all. These aren't villains, they're anti-heroes, only bad in action, but deep down, they feel stuff. I couldn't help but think of the abandoned Sinister Six movie, another baddie team-up, but with Spider-Man villains. And you know, I can't possibly imagine Venom being like, yeah, I'm a big powerful monster that wants to kill Spider-Man, but I just want to be a good dad to my little girl. The movie is kind of handicapped by its rating and would help tremendously if it was rated R. I can see why WB would be concerned about making an R-rated comic book movie. After all, that means less people can see it, so less money. Oh, wait a minute, Deadpool has made like $780 million at the box office, one of the top of the year. And it's all because Fox were smart enough to let the character be itself unfiltered, rather than dictating what they're making by losing potential children tickets with a harder rating. Then when it comes to the plot itself, something I considered after seeing the trailer, like, okay, so we got this squad of villains teaming up, that much is clear, but what for exactly? The trailer doesn't really give us any idea of what the actual story is, just that these guys are super cool bad guys. And it seems like Ayers couldn't figure out what to do with them either, as the actual plot is super weak. I guess it's a spoiler, ancient witch Enchantress, dressed in ridiculous Egyptian fetish garb, takes over June Moore, brings her brother back to life, and wants to build a machine to kill all of humanity because humans were jerks to them thousands of years ago. I mean, are you kidding me? The stakes are the destruction of mankind. Ugh. This is the exact same plot of every comic book movie. It's almost like they think it's a Mad Lib to make one of these. Just make sure to include the possibility of humanity's destruction, usually via some stupid machine. And it makes even less sense in this case because she later refers to what she's doing as a spell. And we see she really isn't building a machine of any kind, just swirling around some trash and stuff. It's actually infuriating. It's like they really don't give a shit. This whole problem of generic stakes is made even worse as the movie essentially goes from Act 1, exhaustively introducing characters, then directly into an extremely overlong Act 3 when they land in Midway City to stop Enchantress's spell for the rest of the entire movie. It's literally just one never-ending sequence, and it's the majority of the movie. Scenes work independently, but not really as a whole. But actually my favorite scene is the bar scene, which we've seen in some of the trailers, including lines cut from the movie. This scene has no action. It's just the squad bantering, and we also learn more about Diablo's backstory in this scene. I'm not sure why this scene works so well in particular, maybe because it gave the cast a chance to actually breathe and interact instead of yelling things while shooting at picklehead monsters. So the highlight of the movie is definitely the cast. For example, Jai Courtney didn't annoy me for the first time in any movie I've seen him in, and that was pretty impressive. So it's not possible in one movie to properly give these characters enough screen time to really develop them, especially when there's so many characters. Like my favorite character, Rope Guy. When are we gonna get his movie? Oh, no one cares? And he's barely in the trailers or any of the marketing material? Gotcha. Sorry, Rope Guy. This is more of a Harley Quinn and Deadshot showcase, with some other guys that are there too, rather than an actual Suicide Squad movie. But that's not so bad really, as both Margot Robbie and Will Smith do a great job with what they're given. I was genuinely impressed with Will Smith. He still is essentially the protagonist despite being part of an ensemble. He does bring that classic Big Willie charm to the movie, and it's just as entertaining as ever. As far as Harley, yes, it is awesome to see Harley Quinn on the big screen, and Margot is really able to bring life to the character we've known and loved since the animated series. I'm not a big fan of how super sexualized her outfit is, but certainly is helping sell tickets. There's lots of butt shots. And they at least acknowledge her original iconic gesture outfit, which I appreciated. I do have to say, in this version of her story, we don't really see a solid enough reason for her to fall for the Joker. She just does, because it's a flashback. There's no time to explain everything. But considering how the Joker comes across in this movie, I kept finding it hard to believe that Harley would be so obsessed with this incarnation of Mr. J. I think this might have had more to do with Leto's portrayal, as his Joker doesn't make much of an impact. Compared to the previous live-action Jokers, he just seems like a greasy thug, not the maniacal, anarchy-driven Jokers of before. I was excited to see another Joker, and the trailer made it seem like he's all over this movie, and his take on the Joker was so hype, along with his on-set antics, but he's in it the most 15 minutes of the movie and has very little to do with the main story. He's really just a dick to Harley, and when we see in flashback how Harley ended up in Belle Reve, Batman chasing them on a joyride, the Joker mobile crashes in the water and Joker just leaves Harley to drown. This does fit in with what would be expected of the Joker, but he then unexpectedly spends the rest of the movie pining for Harley and trying to save her from the squad. But he just left her to die a little while ago. Nothing has changed since then, just how Joker feels now for no particular reason. But to be fair, this isn't exclusive exclusive to Joker. Many characters suffer from the same sudden change in motivation for the sake of driving the movie forward. But I think the biggest offender as a totally all over the place character is Amanda Waller. Viola Davis acts well in the role, but the character is a complete lunatic. In fact, she seems way worse than the supposedly bad Suicide Squad. Like, she consistently makes stupid choices. Even the creation of the squad doesn't make much sense, and it's her fault that Enchantress gets loose and causes the whole mess in the first place. And when the squad are dropped into Midway City, their first mission is to actually rescue Waller from a tower. They don't tell you who the squad is after. It's kept a mystery as they're just slogging through an army of bad guys, and then after like 40 minutes, we find out it's Waller. I thought it was going to be the Joker they were going to hunt down or something, or anything that would change the story's direction, but it's just Waller. So it's a complete waste of screen time that amounts to absolutely nothing. She's sending her own team to rescue her for no discernible reason. They even take a helicopter to leave the building. Didn't even really need the squad at all. Ugh. Again, I was really excited for this movie, and it isn't a total disaster, and the highlights of the movie like Harley and Deadshot and the team's overall interactions are awesome. There are glimmers of a great movie in there, but as is, just isn't so great. It sucks worse because it kind of further proves that if WB would just let these movies develop a little more and give it some more time, they would end up with a more successful movie as far as its quality and box office receipts. Ayers was able to make parts of it work, but didn't really have time to make a cohesive, satisfying movie. This is the result. Oh well, I'm sure Wonder Woman will fix all those problems. Oh wait, Zack Snyder is executive producer and co-wrote the script? Aw, shit. Anyway, what did you guys think of Suicide Squad and Harley Quinn's big screen debut? Do you think WB will ever get their act together? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure to subscribe to FoundFlix, and thanks for watching, guys.